I think we are live. Hello, everybody. Welcome, welcome back again. I think you guys had a fantastic weekend, and we are just kick starting the second week of Bootcamp. And I welcome you to the day 6 of Chainlink Bootcamp. So today, we have Amici, one of our developer experts, and we have Richard from the developer advocate team at Chainlink Labs. So we're going to learn a lot today, really interesting stuff on NFTs and Chainlink automation and how can you use Chainlink automation to create some amazing things. So I just give it up for Amici and Richard. Go ahead, guys. The stage is yours.
Thank you for the introduction. Um, Hello, everybody. I'm really excited for this session today. So we're going to be deep diving into NFTs, creating our own dynamic NFTs, and using Chainlink automation as well as part of this. So let's just start. I'm going to start sharing my screen now, and we'll get this in. And also, I've got Richard here with me today as well. So hello, Richard.
Yeah.
Thank you for being here.
Yeah, thanks. I'll just say, hey, everybody. I'll be in the background. Amici, you are in good hands with him for sure, everyone who's here. I will say NFTs are probably my favorite part of the blockchain environment. So I'm excited for this. And yeah, have a good one, y'all.
Okay, guys. So, like I said, we're going through NFTs today, dynamic NFTs and Chainlink automation. So let's get this started. So this is just an introduction to me. My name is Amechi Okolobi. I'm a developer expert here with Chainlink. And if you wanted to reach out to me, connect with me on Twitter or LinkedIn, keep up with what I'm doing, or just ask some questions, feel free to just reach out to me on any of these platforms. And as you guys are probably very familiar with, we're going to be using Rise Up again today. So if you follow this link, that will pop on your screens, or just follow it here. We've got the Rise Up for everything that we're going to be doing today. It's got all the usual links that you guys have probably seen before. And yeah, so you guys have beat me to it. So what I want you guys to do today is just write your names. So I'm going to write Mechi. I'm in London right now. And today, let's make it a bit different. I want you to write what the current time is in your city. So for me, it's 3:32. So I'm going to write 15:32. And yeah, I want to see who we've got here today and where everyone's signing in from. So name, location, time. Let's see who we've got here today. We've got people signing in from Canada, Peru, Turkey, Merhaba, Berlin, Guten Morgen, Ireland. Wow, we've got a lot of people here today. So yeah, I'm going to let you guys keep writing your names, and as you guys are just filling that in, I'm going to continue with the slides. So NFT, guys, what are NFTs? NFTs essentially are used to represent digital assets. So you can see there's various different things that can be represented with NFTs. You've got punks, you've got tickets, you've got real estate, all these different examples, trading cards. And I think it's important to understand with NFTs what the difference are between fungible tokens and non-fungible tokens. So NFTs are our non-fungible tokens, but what are fungible tokens, you might ask? So fungible tokens, I like to think of dollar bills. Imagine you guys all have your own, you've got a single $100 bill and I've got my $100 bill. If I swapped my $100 bill with one of you guys' $100 bill, we're still going to have a $100 bill of the same value. So that's an example of what a fungible token is. You know, it's not unique. Every $100 bill is worth the exact same thing, holds the exact same amount of value, can be used in the exact same way. Whereas with NFTs, non-fungible tokens, every token is actually unique. So one common example I like to use is with trading cards. When I was younger in the UK, there's something called match attacks, which is like football player trading cards. So if I had, let's say I had a Messi trading card and you had a Ronaldo trading card, if I swapped my trading card with yours, they're not going to be the same anymore. Now they're going to have different values. They're going to have different characteristics about them. They can be used for different things potentially. So that is what a non-fungible token is. It's a unique token. So NFTs as well. NFTs often have images attached to them. this is not a specific requirement, but it's generally better to have images with your NFTs, especially when you're going on marketplace like OpenSea. You know, just a fun way to interact with them. You can easily see what these different NFTs are and the different types. But it's not 100% necessity to have an image with NFT. But I'd say it's definitely better. So storing these images with our NFTs, there's a few different ways we can do that. One way is on chain, and one way is off chain. So, for example, if you wanted to store your image off chain, you would use something like a URL that, let's say, you are storing your NFT in some sort of centralized cloud service, whether it's AWS or even like a Google Drive link. So you could pass that link on chain, and that would be the reference to the image that you have with your NFT. But we live in a decentralized world. We are using decentralized networks. It's a lot better if we had some sort of decentralized alternative for storing these images and these links. And that is where IPFS comes in. So IPFS is the interplanetary file system. And what this essentially allows us to do is using IPFS, you can run your own IPFS node, and then you can actually store and pin these images on IPFS, generate a link for it, and then you can use that to store your off-chain NFTs. Now, a lot of you might not want to run your own IPFS node. That might be a very complicated process. And that is where we have some alternatives such as Pinata and Fura that actually just abstract that whole process away from us and make it a lot easier for us to use IPFS. So this is just an example of the different providers that allow us to do that. So now let's get into NFTs and metadata. So the NFT metadata is essentially data that is stored about that NFT. So if we go into the next page, you can see here, what we have here in the middle of our screen is an OpenSea interface. And you can see that there's various different information about this NFT that is being displayed, but where is this data actually coming from? So you can see some of the data comes from the actual NFT smart contract, such as the owner of the token. But you'll also see here that the token URI, which is stored in the smart contract, now links to this metadata, which is that off-chain data that we we're talking about for the NFT. So in this metadata, you can now see it stores the name of the NFT, the description of it. It's got links, it's got traits as well. So here we can actually store different types of traits about this NFT. So for example, this one here has a stamina trait, and that stamina trait has a value of 3. The same would be for this jelliness and this generation. So here we can actually store the different properties and traits regarding our NFT, which is one key feature of NFT. And I'll show you this link as well. On OpenSea, we have OpenSea has created their own standard for how you can store this metadata. So if you ever wanted to list your NFT metadata on OpenSea, you can see here how that works. So as you can see here as well, our metadata is stored using JSON files. So what does JSON mean? So I'm going to show you what JSON is. So our JSON, essentially it means it stands for JavaScript object notation. So I've got a definition here for you guys, and I'm gonna copy and paste that into the Rise Up for you if you are curious about what NFTs stands for. So I'm going to paste that just down here. So here you can see what JSON means. And essentially, it's just an easy way for humans to read the data, but also for the machines to interpret it. So that way you can see clearly we've got our name, description, image attributes, and they all have their own relevant fields. Now, as you mentioned before, this metadata can be stored off-chain, and we can use a URL to access that, or we can actually store this data on-chain. And there's various different types of data we can store on the metadata. In all honesty, it's completely up to you what you want to store by your NFT. It depends on your use case, but here are just some examples. You can store the name, description, image, attributes, etc. So let's get into dynamic NFTs. What are dynamic NFTs? Right now, NFTs in a current state, majority of them are static. What does that mean? Static NFTs means that not only just the picture is moving, but we're actually talking about that JSON metadata that we were talking about. It can't change. So once you've created that NFT and you've linked it to some sort of off-chain URI maybe that holds that JSON metadata, that doesn't change. So we have no way of updating any information about that NFT. It's always going to stay the same throughout its existence. Whereas in the future, and where NFTs will be going, and you start to see implementations of this, is dynamic NFTs, where that metadata can actually change to reflect, I don't know, maybe it's real life world events or various different things, whatever you want. So this example we can see here on the right is LaMelo Ball. So if you don't know who that is, essentially it's a basketball player. And this NFT actually updates based on his performance. So whenever he gets points in games, you'll see that that data is actually reflected within the NFT. So you can now imagine that, you know, if you're holding, let's say, an NFT of this player and he's performing really well and he's getting lots of points, that's going to incentivize people to want that NFT. So that's just one example of dynamic NFTs. And you might think, okay, well, so what are some conditions that we can have to update NFTs, or what are some rules? So I really like this picture we have here on the right. It's the Chainlink logo, but you can see here that it kind of changes based on the different weather conditions. So the top left one, you know, it's kind of frosty. You can kind of imagine that's during winter time. This one's really sunny, so that's probably during summer. And then we've got autumn and spring and so, you know, this is just one example of the different conditions you can have to update your NFTs to make them dynamic. Maybe you want to change it based on what the current time of year is or the weather, or like we mentioned before with LaMelo, based on their highlights and their scores, etc. You can do anything you want, completely up to you, but this is just a few examples of how you can also do that. And dynamic NFTs now allow us to actually interact with the real world. So based on these real world events and using Chainlink's decentralized Oracle networks, we can actually create NFTs that reflect and store certain attributes based on real world data. Like I said, whether it's weather, whether it's scores, anything that you want, whether it's price, we can use Chainlink's Oracle network to then bring that data on chain and update our NFTs. So what is the structure of our dynamic NFTs? Let's get into that now. So one example that we're going to have is where we have our metadata on chain. So we're going to have the metadata, the URL, the images for the URL. You can have the JSON. You can have this kind of metadata on chain, and this would allow you to then update stable NFT based on what's available to you on chain. And using Chainlink blockchain oracles, now we can actually update our NFTs. So I'm going to get into how we can essentially do that. And that's where the dynamic NFTs comes in with Chainlink oracles. So the example I want to show you guys today is of this flower. So what we're going to be creating today is a flower, and that's going to start off as a seed. And then you're going to see it growing a bit. The flowers are starting to pop out, but they're not just there yet. And then eventually they're going to fully bloom. That is essentially a three phase process of us growing our NFT, and we're going to do that completely on chain. And so before we get into that, I want to show you guys this link, so exactly what this will look like. So I'm going to bring up this page here for you, and you'll see this is an NFT collection that was created, essentially demonstrating what we're talking about. So you can see here we've got a few examples of some of the flowers are still in seeds, and then we've got this one that's partially grown, and then we've got this one that's fully grown. I've just seen someone say sunny days will never appear in the UK. I relate to that. But yeah, so this is exactly what we're going to be creating ourselves today. So let's walk through exactly how we're going to do that. Chainlink automation. So how does Chainlink automation actually play a role in this? Well, we know that smart contracts cannot execute themselves, they're passive. So what this means is that the smart contract itself is not going to be able to call its own functions without any external input. So we need a transaction to be initiated, whether it's by another user, whether it's by an oracle in Chainlink's Oracle network, or another smart contract, but something has to call our smart contract to make an update. So let's just go back a few slides to get our flower from the stage of being a seed into the stage of being partially grown. That has to be a function call made to our smart contract. This is where Chainlink Automation comes in. Chainlink Automation essentially works in two parts. We've got the check upkeep part and the perform upkeep part. So let's just explore exactly what that means. In our check upkeep, essentially what it does is in our smart contract, we'll have certain conditions that we have predefined, and check upkeep is then just going to call that, check if those conditions have been met. And if it has been met, then it'll go into phase 2, which is perform upkeep. That's where it then calls perform upkeep function in your smart contract and will do whatever automation you have programmed it to do. How this works is, Chainlink, we're known for our decentralized network of nodes, and all of these nodes are running and are rewarded for processing these jobs, which we call upkeeps. Now, these upkeeps can be used to verify conditions and transactions we send to our smart contracts. So in our smart contracts, we write the code to establish what rules or what conditions we need to be met. And then Chainlink Automation is going to just run through and check if those conditions have been met. When it has been met, it's then going to execute them. So this is a nice, helpful diagram so that you can visualize exactly how Chainlink Automation works. You see here we've got the automation nodes, and they are just running. And what they're doing is actually simulating calls to this check upkeep, and that allows them to check whether the conditions have been met. Let's take the example where they haven't been met. All that's going to happen is in the next block, then they're going to run again. So this process is happening every block. Now, in the case where the conditions have been met, it then goes to the automation registry, essentially just lets the automation contract know that we need to execute now. And then this just sends it to your upkeep contract that you have the logic in, and it sends that transaction on chain. So that's essentially how that works. So in this part, the top part, the off-chain part, we're calling check upkeep, and then once the conditions are met, we then call in perform upkeep. And in terms of the simulations and how they work, so during the check upkeep, what it's calling is a simulating check upkeep with ETH call. This just allows us to get a true or false. So this allows us to know whether the conditions have been met or not. And then similar with perform upkeep. Again, we perform this call, we simulate this call, and we just make sure that we return true. That just means that the transaction actually went through, it didn't fail, or the conditions might have changed, anything like that. So that's essentially what happens. If all goes well, then the automation transaction is completed. So these are some resources for Chainlink Automation, and I'm just gonna, you can see that, so this takes you to the Chainlink Automation page, which looks like this. Then we also have the docs, which is also very helpful. It breaks down a lot of information about Chainlink Automation, so you can have a look here as well. I'm going to copy and paste this link for you in the Rise Up. So let's do it down here, and let's go Chainlink Automation. So I'm going to copy this link for you. That's the documentation. And we also have some example contracts. So if you wanted some more practical examples, or to see, what can be done with Chainlink Automation, you can come to this page as well. We've got the quick start, the dev hub for this as well. So I'm just going to copy and paste that also in the Rise Up for you guys. Brilliant. So now we've got that. So now let's get into the practical section. So what we've just done, we've had an overview of what NFTs are, what dynamic NFTs are, and how Chainlink Automation can actually play a role in creating your dynamic NFTs. So now you guys are probably waiting to build your own NFT, dynamic NFTs. And in order to do that today, what we're going to be doing is creating our NFT collection. So we're going to create a smart contract that is able to mint NFTs, so you can have your own collection of dynamic NFTs. Before we get into that though, I want to show you guys the Open Zeppelin wizard. So this is a very helpful page that essentially allows us to spin up quick versions of various smart contracts. So again, I'll copy this link into the Rise Up so you can all follow. Open Zeppelin wizard. and I paste that there for you. So everyone come to the Open Zeppelin wizard, and let's just look through essentially what's going on here. So you can see this Open Zeppelin wizard. Let's just close this down first. This is just a smart contract. So what this is just a NFT smart contract. Quite plain, not very interesting. So let's name it. Let's call this one session 6, right? NFTs. And yeah, let's just call it, I'm going to call it my NFT. So you can see it's just changing the name, very simple, but you know, I want my NFT to be able, I want it to be able to mint. So what I'm going to do, then I'm going to click mintable. And now you can see it just automatically gives me the code in order for me to mint new NFTs. I'm also going to make it auto increment. So this just means that I don't have to worry about the logic between minting the specific ID. You'll see here that in this example, I have to mint a specific token ID. Whereas with this one, it just automatically increments and makes that a lot simpler for me. So you can also see here, we've got various different things. You can add burnable if you want. We've got different types of access control. I'm just going to keep it as ownable, but I just want to show you guys this so you can actually see essentially what's going to be happening. So this save mint function is going to allow us to mint new NFTs. So we're not going to be using this, but it's a very helpful site for you to see. What we're actually going to be doing is creating our dynamic NFTs, like I showed you before. So now I want everybody to follow me to Remix. So let's get this up, and I'm just going to get Remix up for you guys. So if you head to the Rise Up, and let's get Remix here. So I'll put Remix, the link to Remix here for you guys. So remix.ethereum.org. Let's go to the Rise Up. So I want everyone to follow me to Remix, and then we'll start. So let's set that. And let's open up Remix. So the first thing I want you guys to do on Remix is to let's create a new workspace for our contract. So up in this top corner, we're going to click this, and then we're going to click Create. I just like to open up a blank one just to keep it simple. And I'm going to call this Dynamic NFTs. Click Enter, and then we get this empty repository. Now we're going to create a new file, and we're going to call this flowers.sol. And I'm going to add the code here for you. So what I want you guys to do once you've created your new file is just copy everything that I add between here. So I've labeled beginning and end. And what I want you guys to do is just everything between that, I want you to just copy that whole entire code, which I'll be adding in a second. So let's just go here, and let's just get that here for you. So this is our whole entire code that we're going to be using today. Don't worry, I will walk you guys through it, so don't be overwhelmed. So I just want you to copy everything between beginning and end into your Remix like so. Just paste it in there. You'll get this pasted code alert. It's fine. You can click OK. And let's just briefly walk through it. So has everyone got this code? All good. All right, let's continue. So you can see, first of all, we're using our Chainlink automation. So we're importing that and importing a few helpful contracts from Open Zeppelin as well. Then you'll see that we have this array of strings. So this is the 3 IPFS URIs that we are going to be using that essentially store the different states of our flower. So you can see the first one here is called seed. So that is like this one. This is the seed. And then we've got the purple sprout. So that's when it grows into the next phase. And then lastly, we have the purple bloom. So these are the 3 URIs that have the metadata for our NFT. We've also got this interval, and this is actually quite key. So we're going to be using this interval to essentially determine the time between when the flower can grow. You also see that in our constructor, we're also minting ourselves an NFT. And we just named this NFT Flower Bootcamp 2024. So yeah, that's the name. You guys can feel free to change this name and the symbol as well. Then you see here, we've just got a function that just lets us know what stage the flower is at based on the token ID. And then we have this grow flower function. So this function.
Hey, Amechi, can you blow your font size up just a little bit, zoom in a little bit?
Oh, yes. Apologies for that.
Sorry. There you go. Perfect.
Yeah, I hope you guys can see this clearer. So yeah, we have our grow flower function as well. So what this does is, first of all, we're checking to see that our flower hasn't reached the maximum stage that it can be at, because we only have 3 stages for this flower. And if it's not, and that's all fine, then what you'll see is that it just increments the stage that it's at, and then just sets its new URI to then whatever that next stage represents. Then we also have our check upkeep and our perform upkeep. So this is what is going to be used by Chainlink Automation when we get to integrating that later. So you can see here, this is the state that we will be checking. We're checking that the current time minus the last time that it was that was grown is bigger than the interval. So whatever we set our interval to is the minimum amount of time that needs to have passed between this check for it to be true. If this check upkeep, then if this state then is true, then you can see that upkeep needed will return true. So that check upkeep call will return true, and then it'll tell the chain automation that it needs to do a perform upkeep, which is what we have here. Again, we just revalidate the state to make sure that we're not, something hasn't gone wrong and we're not calling this when we don't need to or at the wrong time. And you'll see in this perform upkeep, it also calls grow flower, which is the function we have defined here as well. And yeah, that's essentially all you guys really need to know about that. So now that we've got Remix open, I want you guys to first come to the third tab down here, the Solidity compiler. Make sure you guys have compiled your contract, everything is fine. So you have no bugs. I typically just click auto compile as well, makes it a lot easier. Then the next thing we want to do is to come down to deploy and run transactions. We're going to be doing this on Sepolia. So if you guys have been in the previous sessions, you should have Sepolia already. That should be good. So you should be very familiar with this. We just click environment, injected provider. I'm logged out of MetaMask, so I've got to log back in. Let's see. Okay, so now I'm logged back into MetaMask and I'm on Sepolia network. So just confirm, come into the top left corner, make sure you've got show test networks, click Sepolia. So now I'm in, you see I've got my account. And now we're going to deploy this contract. So for our example, I'm going to set the interval to 120. This isn't important to us right now because we haven't set up the automation yet, but let's just set 120. So this is in seconds. That just means 2 minutes. So every 2 minutes, we'll be able to do that. So we're going to hit transact. And we're just going to deploy. We're going to confirm that transaction, wait for it to deploy, and then we'll have a look. So while that's deploying, does anybody have any questions? Let's see what everyone's saying. So someone's saying I'm getting an error on line 71. Line 71. This line. Okay, so let's have a look at that. So I believe you're talking about this, correct? So in Remix, you'll notice there's 2 types of errors and warnings. So when it's orange, note that it's a warning, and it'll also say warning there. Warning just means that it's kind of like a recommendation, but it doesn't mean that it's an error. So this won't actually stop your code from running, won't cause any issues or anything. It's just letting you know that, because we've left out the data here because we don't need it, it's just letting us know that we've done that. So you don't need to worry about that. If it was red, then you would see that it would actually be an error. And someone said code as well. So the code is in the rise up just here. So between beginning and end, you'll see the whole entire code. So now my contract has been deployed. If I come back to deploy and run transactions. So the first thing I want to do is I'm going to actually go to the top. I'm going to copy my address and I'm going to paste it into balance of. So just here, I'm going to paste balance of, and you'll see 1, right? Because if you remember in our constructor, I minted one NFT to myself. So this just lets me know that I've got one contract, one NFT. So what I'm going to do as well, I'm just going to head over to SafeMint. So you'll see here we've got this function SafeMint. This is how we can actually mint NFTs. So what I'm going to do, I'm also just going to mint myself another NFT, just so you can see that that works. I'm going to click confirm. I'm going to give it a few seconds for that NFT to be minted. Let's see what anybody is saying. Also, if anybody needs any Sepolia or link, if you come to the Rise Up pad and let's just scroll up to where we have that for you, you'll see here we've got faucets. So if you head to these faucets, we've got the Chainlink faucet, but we've also got the workshop faucet. So if we open up the workshop faucet, it might request you for some sort of password. You can just see we've got the password here. So you can come to this workshop faucet, you can paste in your address, and then you can request some link and some ETH. So you'll see our faucet's all nice and full, which is great. So anybody who needs some ETH or some link, please come down here. So while my transaction is still completing, so in case you just missed, we'll just check in. We came to the top, we copied our account address, paste it into Balance.of to see how many NFTs we have. Then we came to SafeMint, pasted that same address, and we just minted ourselves another NFT. And now you see that my SafeMint has completed. So if I call Balance.of again, you'll see that I now have 2 NFTs. Does that make sense to anyone? Does anyone have any questions? Someone said they can't see deploy nor the deploy section. So your remix, it may be like this. That might be what you're seeing. If you just click any of these tabs on the left, it should just open up for you. You should be able to see everything. Yeah, you should be able to see everything here. Just make sure you've compiled as well. And then on the tabs on the left, deploy and run transactions. Let's see any other questions. So what I want you guys to do now, just so I can make sure that everyone's been able to deploy, is on this tab where you've deployed your contract, I want you to click copy. So that's going to copy your contract address. And let's come back to the Rise Up pad. And I want you to paste your name and your contract address here. So just like so. So I'm going to put it like this, and that's my contract address. And I want to see who managed to deploy their NFT smart contracts. Let's see who we've got here. Well done, Emil, Sebastian, Jason. Well done. Okay, so a lot of you are deploying. This is really good. Someone said they need Matic. We are on Ethereum Sepolia today. So if you open up your MetaMask and go to your networks, just make sure your test networks are on. And yeah, just make sure you're on Ethereum Sepolia. So someone asked this question, so let's get this up. Somebody said, why would the balance be 1 if they just deployed? It should be 0. Let's come to the code and let's see what we're actually doing in our code. In our constructor, remember that we are actually safe minting. So we're calling safe mint to make sure send us or deploy us ourselves. So when we deployed our contract, we actually minted an NFT to ourselves straight away. That is why the balance is 1, not 0. Okay, let's see who's continuing to deploy. Okay, wow, a lot of you have deployed. That's very good. Perfect. So let's keep this going. Okay, brilliant. So now we're going to go back to the slides quickly. Let's explore an NFT marketplace. So you mentioned previously before about OpenSea, the NFT marketplace. And essentially what NFT marketplaces do is they keep track of the NFTs that have been deployed and they show you that information. So OpenSea is an example of this. So what we're going to do today is we're going to click this link to OpenSea, and I will also copy this into the Rise Up for you. I'll just paste it just down here. If someone could just help me get rid of that below. So let's go to OpenSea, testnets.OpenSea. So yeah, everyone come to the Rise Up, find this testnets.OpenSea. So this way we can see all the various NFTs that have been deployed. And what I want you guys to do is to now, again, copy your contract address and paste that into OpenSea. So I've just pasted mine, and you'll see I've now got my contract that I created, my Flower Bootcamp 2024. And you also see I've got my 2 NFT seeds that have been created, and they're here on OpenSea. So I'm going to click one of them, and if you scroll down on OpenSea and if you click details, we'll see our token ID 1. So bear in mind the index starts from 0. So this is actually the second one that we minted. So if we go back and we click on the other one that's there and click details, you see this one's token ID 0. So I want to grow this flower now. Right now, this flower is showing me a seed. I want it to at least start sprouting. So how do I do that? Let's come back to Remix. And when you come back to Remix, we're going to click on our grow flower. So in Remix, in our contract, if we go to grow flower, you'll see it's telling us to pass in our token ID. So again, I'll show you guys where to find the token ID. If you come into OpenSea, you scroll down, you click details, we've got the token ID right here. So this one is token ID 1. So if I come back to Remix, I click grow flower, I put 1 in there, and I click transact, confirm. So what is this grow flower going to do? What's going to change? This is an example of the dynamic NFT that you guys are going to see. We're going to be able to see that our flower has now changed. So the transaction has gone through. Now also bear in mind with OpenSea, it takes a little while for the picture to update. So there's 2 things that I recommend that you guys do to get the picture to update. If it doesn't automatically update when you refresh the page, then the first thing I want you guys to do is to come over to these 3 little dots, click it and click refresh metadata. You can see it might take a few seconds. It goes into a queue and tries to update. While that's being done as well, what I also want you to do is to bring up your inspect. So on a Mac, you can just right click, bring up the inspect. I then want you to go click these little 3 arrows and click application. Then on the left, I want you to click storage. And then I want you to click clear site data. So that will get rid of the site data for you. And then now, if it still hasn't updated, let's just refresh the page again. And oh, it showed up and then it went away. So let's just try this again. There we go. Brilliant. So now we can see that the picture has changed. So now our flowers start to grow. So that's a dynamic NFT. That's a simple example of what a dynamic NFT is. You can see our flowers growing from a seed and it started to sprout a little bit. Brilliant. So yeah, I want all of you guys to just copy your go into OpenSea and do this process with your NFTs as well. Okay.
Yeah. And
now,
can you go through that one more time real quick?
Yeah,
the whole process
the
of getting
refreshing.
the seeds. Yeah.
Yeah, let's do that again. This one. So, in case your pictures aren't updating, so the first thing I want you to do, refresh the page. That's the first step. Second step, if it hasn't updated, in the top right corner, we've got this little more. You want to click it, and then you want to click refresh metadata. That will tell OpenSea that it needs to check its entries essentially for your NFT. Then lastly, what you guys want to do is you want to open up your inspect. You see these little tabs, it should say like elements, console sources, and then you'll have like a little right arrow. You want to click on that and you want to click application. Once you've clicked application, it will bring up this kind of page. Yours might look different, but you should have this section on the left. It might look something like this. you just want to click on storage. So storage under application, storage. Then you want to click clear site data. So within the storage page, clear site data, get rid of it. You'll see all of this fancy stuff go away. Then you can just close up all of that and then refresh, and then you'll see that it's been done. So now let's get into the automation part. So let's just recap briefly on what we've done. We've created our NFT contract, our NFT collection. We've minted a few NFTs, and we've actually changed the metadata of one of our NFTs to show that it's growing. That's brilliant. But now let's take it one step further by using Chainlink Automation to actually automate the dynamic part of our NFTs. So what does that mean? So if you guys remember when we clicked grow flower and that changed our flower from a little seed to start sprouting, what if we now automated that whole entire process so we didn't have to manually call grow flower? That is what Chainlink Automation will allow us to do. So if we click this link to automation.chain.link, and again, I'll copy this into the rise up for you guys. Apologies. If you guys just put in the chat where you are, if you want to explain something, we'll definitely go back to it. So don't worry if you've been left behind slightly. I'm going to put this on Chainlink Automation. Automation.chain.link. So I want you guys to follow this link to Chainlink Automation, and it will bring you to this page. So yeah, when you're on this page, the first thing all you want to do is you want to click register new upkeep. So we have a few different options when we're creating our upkeep. You know, you can set the trigger to be time-based. So maybe you want Chainlink Automation to automatically check your contract, maybe, I don't know, 30 seconds every day, every week, etc. Then you could have clicked time-based. Then you've got custom logic, which is where we have the logic within our smart contract. And then you've also got log triggers. So maybe you have certain things in your contract that emit logs that you want the automation to trigger upon. For our use case, we're just going to pick custom logic because that's what we have. So we select custom logic and we click next. Then we have to enter our target contract address. So where do we get that from? That is the contract that we deployed. So if we head back to Remix, and one more time, we just copy our contract address, take it back to our register upkeep, and we paste it in there. Don't worry if it says unable to verify, that's fine. As long as you've got the correct contract that we copied over, you'll be fine. We click next, and then we have a few details that we need to pass in about this upkeep. So first of all is the name. So I'm going to call it dynamic NFT. You don't need to change any of these, the gas name, anything like that, until you get to the starting balance and link. So using the fossil, you guys should all have link as well. So I'm just going to start off with 3 link. You guys just put 3 link. It should be more than enough for what we're trying to do. So just put in 3 link, and our check data as well. Don't need to put anything in there. We're not using it. All you have to do then is come to the bottom of the page and click register upkeep. Just like normal, this is going to create a transaction for you. We confirm that. Just wait for this to confirm. Just give it a few seconds. Nice. So when it's done, you'll see that the upkeep registration has been submitted successfully. So now we can click view upkeep. And this is our upkeep here that we have running. So we've got 3 link on it. And you'll see here it's already executed our perform upkeep. So once we deployed it, perform check upkeep, and it's executed it. So what that's done is so if we go, let's go to the code first so we can see this. So what Chainlink Automation has done now is it's called check upkeep, and it's check the time with the last timestamp that we, as you can see here, that we had. And if that time is bigger than the interval, so what that means is if the interval has, the time of the interval has passed, then it gets the latest token ID. So what this means is we have deployed 2 tokens. So we have a token ID 0 and a token ID 1. So we get the current token ID that we're on. And if this, if the token ID that we have for this flower has not reached this final stage, then it returns upkeep needed true. So that lets us know that Chainlink then needs, the Chainlink Automation then needs to call perform upkeep. So then, of course, it returned true. The interval had passed. So then it called perform upkeep, and then it essentially execute, did the same check, and then it called grow flower. So if we come back to our flower that we had deployed previously, let's refresh. Let's see if it's done. Okay, see. So we're going to do the same process. We're going to refresh our metadata. We're going to clear our data, application, storage, clear site data. Close this down. Open back up. Would you look at that, guys? Our flower has now fully bloomed. So I want you guys to as well come back to your OpenSea and refresh the flower and see. You should be able to see now that the latest flower that you were blooming has now fully bloomed as well. So let's actually go through that whole process from the beginning. Let's deploy now another. Let's create another NFT from scratch, a fresh seed, and let's get that to bloom fully. So what do we need to do in order to do that? We go to SafeMint again. So I'll close the rest of these so you don't get confused. Go to SafeMint, we pass in our address, we click transact. So the admin address you shouldn't need to change, will be the exact same that's already there. It should be your address that you're using. So we've gone to SafeMint, we've minted our new token. We'll give it a few seconds for it to have done. So now that's completed. Let's go back to our contract. Let's refresh, and you'll now see we've got the first one that we never grew. We've got the second one that we grew manually once, and then Chainlink Automation fully bloomed it for us. And now we've got our third one that we can see here. That's a seed, but we're not gonna call grow flower on this. We're not gonna grow it ourselves. We're just gonna let automation automatically handle this for us. Yeah, so we're going to let automatically handle for. So in the meantime, while this is going, you can actually keep track of Chainlink Automation. If you go back to the automation page, we can refresh it and we can just see, okay, so you can see it's called perform upkeep again for a second time. So what that's telling us is that now the latest one that we have bloomed, which is this one here that we're looking at, it should be now started to bloom. So again, we go through this process, we refresh our metadata, we inspect, application, clear site data, come back to it, we refresh, see, it started growing. So this is it, guys. This is Chainlink Automation just growing our flower for us. So this is our dynamic NFT, changing in real time. We don't have to grow it ourselves. Automation is handling everything for us. So in the meantime, while my flower is growing, I just want to answer any questions that you guys have. So feel free to leave some questions in the chat and we'll get to answering them. So can you explain again why only the first flower was updated by the automation? Yes. So if we go back to our code, so I believe what you're referring to essentially is in our perform upkeep, we are checking, we're getting the counter. So this is getting us all the token IDs that we have. but we are only growing one flower at a time. So to make it easy for ourselves, we are growing the latest flower that we have minted. So that essentially is the flower with the biggest token ID. So if we come back to this page, that is essentially why this flower never grew, because we never called grow flower on it, and we didn't have our chain automation set up when it was only this flower. So this flower is just a seed right now. This flower we grew the first time for ourselves, and then after that we set up Chainlink Automation. I think the image hasn't updated, but we set up Chainlink Automation, and then it handled that for us. Then we just created a new flower that a few minutes ago was just a seed, and without me pressing grow flower, Chainlink Automation has been growing it in the background, and now you can see that it's fully bloomed. So that is essentially why the last flower that we minted. But yeah, the first that you'll see on OpenSea is updated. That is why. Any more questions? Yeah, if yours hasn't updated, what you need to do again, I can show you guys again. So for example, this one hasn't updated. First, I will start, you load the page, you refresh the page. Then we click refresh metadata. So in the top right corner, we click more, refresh metadata. While that's going on, you go to inspect, and you go to application, storage, clear site data. Once you've cleared the site data, you can close that, and then just refresh the page again. You see it bugs out a little bit. Maybe just try refreshing again. There we go. Sometimes you just need to refresh a few times. If you've cleared the site data and it still hasn't gone, just refresh a few times and you'll see that being reflected. So now you can see I've got 2 fully bloomed flowers. If I wanted to, I could go back and manually grow this one, but I'm going to leave it. I like it as a seed. Let's see if we've got any more questions. What address should we put in SafeMint? Yeah. So SafeMint should be your address that you're using. And the easiest way to get that is at the top of this deploy and run transactions page. You just want to copy your account to clipboard, and yeah, just paste that to SafeMint. Yeah, so it's just your account. You can mint any account that you want, but obviously you want the NFT, so I'd recommend you mint it to your account. Somebody said, does it only change when the upkeep's logic is true? Yes. So when it calls, what first it will do is call perform check upkeep, and this is going to return us a boolean whether the upkeep is needed. So the only time perform upkeep will be called is if check upkeep has returned true. And in order for check upkeep to be returned true, there's a few conditions that need to be met. Our interval needs to be exceeded. So we set ours to 120 seconds. So all that means is 120 seconds needs to have passed, first of all. Then the second of all is that the latest token that we have minted can't be fully grown. That's all that this means. The flower stage has to be less than 2. So the flower hasn't reached its final stage. If both of those conditions are true, then upkeep needed will return true, and then it will then call perform upkeep. I don't know why. So we've got this question. If you can't see a link in your wallet, I'll put this page for you as well. So I'll copy this page. If you can't see a link in your wallet, then what you can do is come to this page and you just click add to wallet, and it will essentially just add the link to your wallet. So I'll copy this link and I'll put this in the rise up for you as well. I'll put this in. So yeah, if someone said they can't see a link in their wallet, so just follow that page and add the link token contract to your wallet. Any more questions? How does Chainlink Automation know to check. Let's see this question. Oh, how often is automation checking that function saving the customer? Yeah. So Chainlink Automation. Let's go back to this page that we had here because it shows it very nicely. This page. So this check upkeep. This is essentially what's the check upkeep. This is what it looks like, and you'll see here is that it's actually checking it every block. So every block that goes by, it's gonna do this check upkeep. That's if you have your custom logic. If you have time-based logic, it's gonna do it based on that time-based logic. And if you have event-based logic, it's going to do it based on the emission of the specific event that you're looking for. So I hope that answers your question clearly. Let's see if there's any more questions. Flowers.soul, yes. Flowers.soul, you can find that in the Rise Up. In the code, which is just here. So from end all the way up here, yeah. So you want to copy everything between the beginning and the end. That's the entire flowers.soul contract that you guys need. Interval, no. So interval is, someone asked, is interval one block? Just this question here. So interval, let's go back to the code so you can see that very clearly. Interval is what we are using, essentially what we are setting it for, how long between our flower grows. So let's say if we had interval set to 1 sec, like let's say 30 seconds, then that means every time, let's say we did it at 1 minute and then we tried to do it again at 1 minute 20. Well, interval wouldn't have passed. So that means that our check upkeep would actually return false because the interval hadn't been exceeded. So we have just created interval as a sort of time between the different states of the flower. We set for 2 minutes. So that means that only after 2 minutes has passed or 120 seconds has passed, will the automation be able to grow our flower. The link for Chainlink Automation is in the Rise Up pad as well. Literally just above our code. So you see Remix, OpenText, and Wizard. We've got the docs. Maybe it's even further below. I'll put it all in one place for you so it's nice and clear. Yeah, so it's a bit further below. Enable. Someone, I think, yeah, someone messed up. Let's get the link for Chain Automation back up for you guys. Automation.chain.link, and I'll just move it up here just so it's nice and clear. Put it with the other automation links. So yeah, when you see Chainlink Automation, you'll see it right up there for you guys. Okay. Yeah. Let's just go back. So yeah, that's essentially how you guys create your dynamic NFTs. We're a little bit ahead of schedule, so yeah, if you guys still have more questions, just feel free to keep asking. I'll be here to answer any questions for the time being.
That sounds good. And if people have questions too for like anything, if y'all want to ask them in the chats, I'll help out too and try to do. We will do our best together to ask questions or answer questions, not ask questions.
Someone asked, is IPFS an on-chain storage or an off-chain storage? IPFS is an off-chain storage. It's just decentralized. So for example, you might have a centralized off-chain storage that uses like the cloud storage. Google Drive, for example, is an example of that. But then IPFS is a decentralized way to do the storage. And then it gives us our URIs that we are passing into our smart contract.
Yeah, and just to add a little bit more of that, IPFS is the interplanetary file system. It works kind of like a blockchain in that you can set up a node to host files for IPFS, so it's distributed in that method. So if you care about your files always being available, you need to make sure that you have a node available for them. Yeah, it's an interesting protocol.
What part of the contract is from automation compatible? That's a good question. So I'll show you that right now. Let's go back to Remix. And you'll see we've got essentially it's these two functions here. So our check upkeep and our perform upkeep are essentially overridden from the automation compatible. So automation compatible interface, and that gives us our check upkeep and perform upkeep that we need to override. That's where we implement our logic that we are looking to implement.
There's a question too. How is it sustainable for Chainlink to check every block for X amount of contracts? The check upkeep functions are very easy to run. Like the cost of running them is very low, especially because they're run off chain, right? So that check upkeep function, you'll notice it's a view function. So view functions, you basically run them on your side, and they check just the state of something on the blockchain. So that's why it's possible to run the checks every block.
Someone said,
oh yeah, go ahead.
He said, I don't understand why you make a check and then perform. Yeah, this question. I don't understand why you make a check and then perform with the function the same thing. So there's a few things to note with this. Our perform upkeep is just an external, there's no access control. So anybody potentially could call this. In our case, obviously, the automation is calling this. But the reason why we do this check again is because if we didn't have this check and you just called at any random time, it might not have been the right time to perform the check. Maybe our interval hadn't passed. So we just do this check for extra sanity, just to make sure that the same conditions when we did our check upkeep are the same conditions when we do our perform upkeep, if that makes sense. So hopefully that answers your question. Someone asked, what is the automation? Actually, it's like a cron job that's created on machine software in a Chainlink environment. I think Richard, you'll probably best answer that question.
Yeah, sure. You can think of it like a cron job. That's probably a good similarity. So for those who are not familiar with like the weird word cron job, in a Unix Linux environment, there is a tool called cron. You can think of it probably deriving from the like Chronos time wording, but basically cron lets you run things in a Unix Linux environment at specific times and intervals. It's just like an automation when you go to a time-based trigger. That's set up with a cron scheduler as well. So it's the same thing. And then, yeah, so the Oracle nodes, what they're doing basically is on that regular interval of every block, they're running those checks. And then if they return true, then they're executing them. So yeah, you can kind of think of it like a cron job. It's similar in how it functions. I think this is a good question too. So if you do make anything with automation that runs indefinitely, how are the costs managed? So the costs are managed by your triggering event, right? So in this case, we're saying every whatever times you set, we want to run this. So you're basically telling automation, like, I want to run this forever, period. So that would mean that it would eventually like drain your subscription of Link tokens. Absolutely. Once there wasn't enough Link, then yes, it'll stop running. You'll get an error message on your upkeep page there that tells you that you don't have enough Link. But yeah, it won't run if there's not sufficient Link for the maximum possible amount. Yeah, so you can see here on the screen that one of your upkeeps is underfunded. That's what happens when it runs out. So yeah, it just how you set up your automation to run is how you kind of control that. But in our case, we just wanted it to run. We're in a test environment, so it just was going to always run on a regular interval. You can pause your upkeeps too. If you go into the upkeep itself, there is the ability to like pause the upkeep so it stops checking. Yeah, if you just go into one of those ones that you have there, any of yours up at the top, yeah.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
just
there
go
we
into
go.
like your dynamic NFT one. And then under more actions, or top right hand corner, yeah, there's the ability to like pause the upkeep. So that will stop it from running as well.
Yeah.
It's a great question though.
Someone asked any examples that we can link to. If you go to this link in the Rise Up, quick start, there's some different examples of you can do it based on, so for example, automation, and then you can see a bunch of different examples of automation contracts. Some of them are more complex than others, so have a look at them. I believe we've got like this difficulty as well, so if you want something that's more complex, you can definitely have a look at those.
And someone's asking too, is there a way to withdraw unused link? Yeah. Can you show the subscription? Yeah.
And then, where is it? Is that the bottom or is it? Yeah, should be here. Yeah, so how it actually works to withdraw is I'll do it on my other upkeep because I already started that process. So what happens is first you click cancel upkeep, and then once you've cancelled it, then the second time you get the ability to, it will tell you. So let's do it. We cancel upkeep, get the confirmation, and then after that it will prompt you to then withdraw the link that is remaining in the upkeep. And then yeah, you see, so now it's been cancelled, and then it says use the withdraw funds action to claim your funds. So then when you come back to this action, it now says withdraw funds, and then it just tells you, okay, just wait a few blocks to withdraw, just so that they can be sure everything's finalized. And then once the number of blocks has passed, then you'll be able to withdraw. You can pass in your address, you just click confirm, and then you get your funds back.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Hey, Sol.
I'd like to ask you, all of you, to add more information in our pad, because this info is used to us at the end. So if you go to the down in the pad, in the end of the pad, you can see that I am the green person over there. So could you add these 2 points for me. Like first your name and your collection on OpenSea, and then your name and the automation job. Thank you. This is not for Amechi, but for all of you that are doing this. And remember that you must do this in our task form. Amechi, did you went to the task form?
Haven't showed it, so I'll put it
Go
at the
to the
top.
line 23.
20. Yeah, here. So this is the
Yes,
task one.
open this, please. Yeah, so if you scroll down over there, and could you increase the font a bit?
Yes.
Better. And scroll down until the session 4. You can see over there that session 4, no, section 6, exactly.
Oh, 6, yeah.
Exactly. We'd like to know, first of all, the flower address that you already have in the pad, but also the automation URL for your job, okay? And this is part of your tasks in order to receive your certificate at the end. And yes, now we have a lot of collections, a lot of flowers, and the Chainlink job as well. This is amazing. And like we have an interesting message over there, Ramesh, like some person that it's a bit lost. So maybe what you can do now, like review all the steps in a slow mode to be sure that all of them are good. And then in some moment, nice. We have a good question over there.
How do you get the collection link? So if we go to Remix and we copy our contract address first, then we head over to OpenSea. We just paste in our contract address there and we click the collection. And now we can just copy this link. Here we can see my collection. I've got 2 fully blooming flowers and a seed. You just want to copy that link and that's your collection link. So yeah, guys, remember, all we're doing is connecting our MetaMaster Sopolia. We're deploying our contract. We set our interval to 120 seconds. You guys can put it more or less if you would like. And we get minted at NFT, so we checked our balance. So you can see now I have 3 NFTs. As you can see here, I've got 3 in my collection. So you can call save mint if you want to mint some more. And then you can also pass in the token ID that you want to grow, and you can specifically grow. So you know what, I feel like growing this flower now. So I'm going to click on it, this seed. I'm going to click details. I'll see that's token ID 0. So I can come over here, I can click grow flower on that token ID 0, run that transaction, and you know that's how we grow it manually. Then if we wanted to implement the automation, we came to the automation.chain.link. So you'd come to this page. We registered our new upkeep. We selected custom logic because that's what we're checking in our smart contract. We then entered the address of the contract that we wanted to use. So I think I've already got one for this. So there we go, we click next. We give it a name. We deposit our starting balance as 3. The admin address and the gas limit, we don't change, guys. So don't change the admin address or the gas limit. All we do is we specify our starting link. Again, the same with the check data. We don't change any of that. And then we just register our upkeep. So I've already done it, so I won't do it again. But it's simple as that. That's how you register the upkeep. And then automatically you're going to notice that you click your upkeep, you'll see that it will begin to start performing performing upkeeps for you. Are we done for the day? Yeah, this is essentially everything that we've covered. So now it's just the time for you guys to try out for yourself, ask any questions that you may want to ask. So the link is deducted. So this is a good question. If I create a time-based NFT and then transfer admin, does it change the wallet from which link is deducted? So that's a good question. The link is part of the upkeep. So I'll show you this here. So when you create your upkeep, this is like let's just say it's its own contract, right? So the link is part of this this contract already. So if you change the owner, the link will still be within this upkeep that you've created. So it'll be deducted from this wallet, not from your wallet directly. Yeah, thank you guys as well for participating in this session. I hope you guys did enjoy it. I enjoyed it myself. I hope you guys very successful, you guys. Any more questions? Someone asking about ordinals. Ordinals is specific to Bitcoin, so it's very different to what we're discussing today. If the project statement, does that mean that they can mint any tokens for themselves? So in this example, all our statement is doing is specifying an address that we want to mint a single token to. If you're talking about other projects, you'd have to look at their implementation really different. But for this specific example, we're just minting a single token to any address of our choice, and that's public. So yeah. Where to get the automation URL for the job? So if you go to your automation page, even if you go back to home, you'll see under my upkeeps, you'll see the different upkeeps that you have. So just click on it. And what we're looking for is just this link at the top. So once you've opened up your upkeep page, we just want to copy that link from the top. Where we have option to fund upkeep and actions, yes, you do. So if you come to your actions, you can just click fund upkeep and you can just deposit any amount of link that you want to add to this upkeep to keep it running. Maybe it's underfunded, just as simple as that. Yeah, so you'll find that in actions. You can do that very easily as well. So you can see the balance and the upkeep was increased. Someone's asking about NFTs and testnet. So yeah, we're just doing it for testnet, just for example purposes. If you wanted to actually, get this into the OpenSea market, you'd have to do this whole process on mainnet, where you'd be using your real currency. is the smart contract flower address similar to the flower collection address? Yes. So what we've deployed, flower, that is our that represents this that I'll show you. This. So that's what it looks like. We just pasted in our contract address into OpenSea, and this shows us all the NFTs that were minted under this contract. Okay, guys. What is the registry contract? So the registry contract is essentially what you have created here. So when you registered a new upkeep, that then created this what you have here. So if you want to do an register a new upkeep, again, you set custom logic. Next, we specify a target address, which is our address that we have created here. Paste that in, and then we just fund it with some link and we give it a name. Simple as that. I believe, Richard, you want to jump in?
Yeah, no, I was just going to say, just to clarify a couple things. So when we're creating upkeeps, there's those three options there. And we only talked about the custom logic one. This example is kind of, it's interesting because what we're doing with our custom logic is we're really doing a time-based upkeep with our custom logic. So that's something to just kind of keep in mind. Custom logic, what it does is it checks that check upkeep function, and then it calls the perform upkeep function. Time-based will let you use a cron tab like expression. Can you just click on time-based real quick and go to next? Yeah. If you want to paste in the ABI real quick. So what this will do is it'll let you call a specific function within your smart contract and then at a regular interval, which is essentially what we're doing, but we're doing it with the check upkeep and perform upkeep functions. So time-based is, as the name implies, right? Just like strictly time-based. And then, yeah, if you just want to pick one,
so you can pick flower.
Yeah, and just put one in there, and you should be good.
Yeah.
It'll let you through. So here is the cron tab, right? And it kind of explains like how this works. Somebody was mentioning earlier, if you could think of automation as like a cron job, and this is literally a cron tab format here, where you can put in like, if you want to run every minute, every specific hour of every day, something like that. It kind of gives you some examples down below. There are some really awesome websites out there, like I think one of them is called Cron Tab Guru, that will put this in plain text for you when you're editing your cron tab. And then the other option is with logs. And so in your smart contract, you can emit a log when events happen, and you can run your automation based on that log trigger as well. It's not something we'll get into this, but if you're interested in that, in the documentation, like at docs.chain.link under automation, there are examples there, like tutorials that will walk you through everything you need to do to use the log triggers. A log trigger is really cool because you can automate your smart contract based on another smart contract, right? So if I created a smart contract that emitted an event every time, I don't know, every time I logged into my computer, I activated a smart contract and it emitted an event. You could automate based on that. And you could, send me some testnet ETH because, whatever. You think I'm awesome when I sit at my computer. So that's the three different ways that automation works, which is pretty cool. Yeah, so here's an example. Like in our documentation, I don't know, our docs team is really awesome. And these examples are pretty cool because you can just open a remix and they give you all the steps that you need, which is really, really cool. The question about, do data feeds emit events? I don't know that off the top of my head. That's a great question. I want to say they probably do. I would bet that they do, but I don't know if I can answer that 100% without looking at the contract right now. But yeah, you can automate based on other events, which is really powerful. There were some questions too, like, about, I forget what it was. It was something about running stuff in automation. And so automation has another thing. It's not really something we've talked about much yet, but we call it verifiable compute. So in that check upkeep function, right? If you go back to Remix real quick, in the check upkeep here. So like this if statement, right? It's not very complicated in this example. It's just doing a basic, like, current time versus last time. Is it more than this number we set? That's super basic computation, but you can put really complex stuff in there too. And it will run that information for you when it's checking upkeep. And then I know everybody was talking about the error message or the warning that they were getting on line 71, because we have that thing that we're not using, right? That on the return, the unnamed value on the return. Like if you scroll to the right just a little bit, yeah, this perform data, because we weren't using perform data. But what's really cool about automation is check upkeep can do something and then return perform data. Perform data gets passed to perform upkeep. So you can do like a really complex computation here in check upkeep, pass that information, the result, to perform upkeep, and that'll save you a lot of gas because you're not performing that computation on chain now, which is pretty cool. It's not something we really talk about much in like these. It's just maybe a bit more intermediate advanced topic, but I think it's a really, really cool thing for sure. But yeah, and then one other thing I just wanted to address, there was a question, I think it was in one of the other workshop sessions, but it was about if this bootcamp was enough to start a career in smart contract auditing. And as far as the bootcamp goes, I would say my answer to that question is yes, because you said start. This is a fantastic place to start. I don't think that by the end of this bootcamp, you'd be able to do that fully, but it's definitely going to be like that first step along that path for sure. And that goes for anything in like the blockchain development space. I would say this is a great place to start. From here, you can kind of get a flavor for how things work and start getting into more in-depth learnings. So yeah, our time-based automations is a good question. Our time-based automations guaranteed to be triggered exactly once. I mean, is there concurrency guarantees in case of problems with their operators? And messaging is also min once, max once. So this is part of why we in perform upkeep again had that check to ensure that like, hey, do we actually want to run this again? And I would say the way that I always think about automation is I want my automation to be set up in a way that it is going to ensure it only runs when it's supposed to run from my contract, right? So if it gets called 100 times and it's only supposed to run once, it's only going to run once. So have those sort of checks, anything that you need like that in your contract itself. And by the way, I love your avatar, the King from Robin Hood. Great movie. Can we add the minted NFTs to our MetaMask wallets? I don't know what you need to do to get them to show up in MetaMask, but those NFTs belong to your wallet address. So they should be there, but I'm not sure what the process is of getting them to show up in MetaMask, but they definitely are owned by your wallet. And there's a question about what do you recommend to, like, how do you recommend to proceed after this boot camp? Towards the end of the boot camp, we'll probably talk about this more, like where to go next. There's, I don't know if like off the top of my head, I can tell you there's so many resources out there for this, but yeah, at the end of this boot camp, we'll definitely have a, like, where to go from here and some suggestions like that we'll share. And this is a good question too. So is there a CLI or a program? There are ways to create automation straight from your smart contract. If you go back to the docs real quick.
Which page you want
It's
to?
in there. I don't know which. I can't. It's down in the guides. There'll be one. Yeah, register upkeeps programmatically. So to show you how to register them, not from the GUI.
Yeah.
And I'll walk you through all that. So that's pretty much all I have. I don't know, Amici, if you have anything else. I know that tomorrow, as they used to say, same bat time, same bat channel, we will have CCIP with Soul. And yeah.
Yeah, I
That'll be
guess
awesome.
if you guys just need any help as well, we've got the Discord here, so feel free to join. Head to the channels, and then yeah, we can help you out there as well. We've also got the upcoming hackathon, which you've probably also been introduced to. So in English and Spanish, feel free to participate in that as well. Don't share outside this as well. I think yeah, from us, I think that's pretty much it. So thank you guys for attending. I hope you enjoyed it very much. Brad, if you want to say anything just to close up.
Yeah, I think it's a fantastic session. I think most of the people here, like, they created the first dynamic NFT. It's fantastic to see a lot of people helping each other out in the chat. That's something that we are really interested to see. Community developers helping out each others. That's great. And today, I think we learned more about dynamic NFTs. Tomorrow, I think we're gonna learn more about how to send this NFTs cross chain, sending from chain A to chain B. So we're gonna have Soul tomorrow. So don't miss out on that session. You can directly go to YouTube live and then create a notification for tomorrow's session. And with that, don't forget also to share your experience with the world. You can use #Chainlink Bootcamp 2024 hashtag and share your experience, share your dynamic NFT with the world, and ask your friends to join the sessions too. Cool. And like Amici mentioned, if you have any questions with today's session, feel free to post it on our Discord so that our community will definitely help you out with all the queries that you might have. So with that, I think we can just say bye for now.
All right.
Thank you guys.
Thanks to everybody who showed up. It's awesome to have an audience that's engaged. You guys are the real heroes of this session.
Thanks, Richard. Thanks, Amici. Bye.
Thank you.